We
Thank
have
you.
a very exciting session ahead of us today. So last time we started a game simulation, and I did not, honestly, I did not play myself, but I got more excited than anyone else because I thought that after the initial struggle few people had, I also tried to play once, but I did not complete it because I thought it's taking too much time. But then I see few people who started the game, they also had a similar reaction that it's not taking them anywhere, and they are not making progress. I got a little bit pessimistic and disappointed that it's not going to go anywhere, this play. But then it picked up the momentum. More and more people got involved, and you guys really helped each other very well. That now we have close to perfection scores. There's a tie actually. The best score is 90, is very close to 100. So it's near perfection, and not one person, 2% have achieved it. So I'm very excited because we are right in the middle of this game. As I explained to you earlier, that we have two versions of this. You played very well the simplistic version. And I think we are all geared up. We are all in the right spirit now to move into the advanced version of this game. So imagine what would that be? And I'm sure that would also go very well.
Ya Allah.
Yeah. So today's session is basically just checking with each other what worked, what did not work, and what different people have, although we were all chatting and talking on the platform, but today is the opportunity to formally explain and describe what strategy did you play so that other people could also learn from it. Most people have done very well in a score. I would say all the people who have scored 50 and above, I would say this is a very successful play. You have achieved it. Of course, there are people, and I could also include myself, lower than 50. I actually don't have any score. We could still learn. But if you have played a complete game with 13 periods, I think you have already invested yourself into, and you have already made significant progress. Now, let me re-emphasize why are we doing it. Most of us are finance professionals, no doubt. And if we look from the traditional point of view, finance people were supposed to deal with finance, right? And that is how we probably started our career. That is how we were trained in the initial certifications. But look, the world has changed. Now there is a less and less silos. And if you reach to a certain level of seniority, I would say senior manager or a director or VP or that level, you are supposed to know everything about the business. You cannot afford to just remain in your financial silos and say that I'm a financial expert or I'm a CFO. You are basically a CXO. CXO means that you are an expert in any function in the organization. So that is a reality which we are facing. And I thought that, look, this is a very good opportunity for us that we have some sense of marketing, but what if we go a little deeper? And all of you have gone through the strategic CFO program. So you have already learned strategy. You have already learned the CEO material stuff, because strategy is for CEO, and they look at the organization from top down, and that is how it looks very clear. So marketing strategy is always a very important component of a business strategy. If you take out marketing strategy, there is no business. So that is how it is important. So imagine that next time you are sitting on the board, in the boardroom, and the marketing CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, is making a presentation. And as a CFO, what question you may ask? Most of the time, many finance professionals do not find themselves into the comfort zone where they could really raise any questions or objections to those people, assuming that this is not my domain. They are expert, let them handle it. But look, this is not their domain. This is our domain. This is everybody's domain. Marketing is a very, very important, critical, crucial area of the business. And we need to have the enough expertise to really not only understand, but challenge those people who are even in the capacity of the CMOs and senior marketing professionals. So that was the motive. I think all of you have understood it. And look how fun it is to learn it, rather than really going back to the school, college, or anywhere else and start learning from this textbook. This is the best way. We have the opportunity to play the best simulations available in this world through Harvard and top business school. That is what we are learning. So we have tried to replicate the experience of a top business school where if you go there, you will pay thousands of dollars of fees, and here you are paying almost nothing. So that's the background. And I'm excited to go forward with you to complete this. So today we are having the middle session, like we had 2 weeks ago, the first session. Today is the second session. Purpose of today's session is to really take the feedback from each other, learn what worked, what did not work, and then prepare ourselves for the advanced version. So after this session, I would reset the simulation to advanced level, and then you can start playing it. Same way, you will have 5 chances to play it entirely, and that is how we would, and you will continue to chat and share and talk with other people. And then 2 weeks from now, so today is what, 14th, right? 28th of May, we will meet again, and then we will finalize our learning. We will finalize what worked, what did not work. And at that level, we will have more stuff to really talk about from an advanced marketing strategy point of view. So that's from my side. Anybody has anything to say, ask?
Yeah, I just have one question, Mr. Salim. You said that you're going to put it into an advanced mode. So can you please elaborate a little bit what is this advanced mode?
Yeah. I'll explain that. That is the purpose of today's session. And I'll give everybody opportunity to share their experience, but I'm just asking that casually or informally, anything anybody would like to say, and then this is the time that we'll move on to the
This is absolutely a fantastic exercise. I started a little late, but I realized it's absolutely superb.
But you still did make good progress, Abhijit.
I couldn't make progress. Yeah.
But you played 4 or 5 times already, right?
Later. Sorry?
You already played 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. I realized.
That's the progress. That's the progress.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else has to say anything quickly?
Hi, Denny here. From my side, I think I thought maybe I thought I know it all. This will be something easy, and how I was shown, the errors of my ways. I fell really flat on my face, and I learned a lot from failure. Let me say like that in my first attempt, and I really enjoyed and took it as a challenge. And and also from the comments from everybody else, I felt it's a really fantastic exercise. Real world, to whatever extent you allowed, Salim sir, in this level, a lot of experience, a lot of learning from that sessions that we played. Really fantastic.
Look, this is very interesting point. Most of you have already realized by playing this. So this is called learning business by doing business. You are actually doing business. You are the CEO of a company, and you are trying to play with the marketing strategy and execute it. And you must have realized one thing. As finance professionals, our training, our education, our grooming, our development was all based on certain principles which do not align with the business. And those principles are around objectivity, materiality, evidence, verification. So you must have realized how subjective the marketing field is. There are no rules, right? You have to make judgment calls. Satisfaction, you try to provide resources and you still don't see any customer satisfaction coming back in profit, right? There are no rules. You have to use a lot of your judgment. So the business world is full of subjectivity. We don't accept it because we will say that if there is no objective evidence, we even don't accept those facts. We need evidence. We need black and white documentation. So it is very different outside finance. And this gives us the look, let me say that we are not dumb people. We are very smart people. But because we have been educated, groomed, and developed in a certain way, that accounting rules becomes our world. We started to think that the whole world is like this. That is why other non-finance people have struggled with us to really discuss and debate those issues. And normally they just surrender and they just keep quiet. But now we are realizing that how the real world works. And yes, we understand all those accounting rules and objectivity and evidence and audit thing. And we also need to understand how the business works so we could really play it well. So I'm sure everybody has the same experience, and I cannot say more how crucial, how critical it is for us to learn. So what people do, we will start with the champion of the champions. So there is a tie. I think Naeem is with the highest score. And who is the other person?
Asif.
Okay, I'll show you in a moment. We'll start with them. So I'll ask both of them to share your strategy broadly. What was your strategy? You might have no strategy, but I'm sure that soon as you move forward, you started to develop in your mind a clear strategy you wanted to follow. So I would ask both of you to maybe for 5 minutes, each of you could describe, and then we'll move forward. So let me open the screen first to show you the top scores or what I have on my side. So share screen, share my desktop. And on my desktop, where should I go? Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you see my screen now?
Yeah.
And you see this is the top scorers, the best scorers by order.
Oh,
So you see on the
Mohammad
top,
Abrar
there
is
are
the topmost.
there are
Fantastic.
two gentlemen with 90 scores, 90, 90. Then 86, 83, 83, pretty good. I'm very impressed. So the score is basically a weighted average. There are 4 factors: cumulative revenue, cumulative profit, market share, and customer satisfaction. And through an algorithm, they have tried to narrow it down into one
Pretty
score.
good, yeah. Mohammad Abrar, I want to congratulate him.
Yeah.
My old
So,
friend, yeah. My group.
who is it? Naeem, are you ready to describe your strategy and how would you do that? I have another screen where I could open your analysis tab.
Oh,
You want to go by that, or you can open your screen or whatever way?
it's okay. I just, if you like, I can just start or give my little bit experience or strategy.
Yeah,
How is actually I run through those simulations. Initially, I started with my as a extension of the existing strategy, like the previous CEO who was using. So at that time, I tried twice or thrice. Can everybody listen to me? Is okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So initially, I tried to just go to the extension of the existing marketing strategy, which the previous motion marker CEO was taking. So, but it doesn't make significant improvement. So my first 3 attempts, if you go through it, I score in 3 play games 67s. And all those 3, even my revenue, my market share, cumulative profit, and customer satisfaction, all are different. But in these 3 continuous simulations, I got 67. I think it's need to explain by Mr. Salim how it can be. But in the next in the final round, I go through the change my strategy. Because I go to the initial understanding of the data set till 3rd quarter, there was a large customer and the small customers. In the small customer, actually, we are selling around 25 to 30% of the market units, but the large customer around 72. So I changed the sales budget accordingly. Previously, I was just getting the 50-50 was budget for the small customer and the large, and the retaining to the large, acquiring new customer and existing customer. This was the 50-50. I was doing the little bit change, but in the last gameplay, I change according to their market share. So first, I allocate my sales budget. This is why I think the most important thing, it's changed the complete scenario. I allocate for the large customer 70% of my sales budget, and the remaining 30% to the small customer according to the unit sales till the third quarter of the first year. So it boosts the revenue, profit, and even the customer satisfaction. This was the first one. And the same thing I done in the retaining the existing customer and acquiring new customers. So I allocate from 50-50 to 30-70. For the existing customer, I allocate my 70%, my sales budget. And for the new customer, I keep the 30%, which gradually I change as when I decreasing the new customer sales was decreasing. In the third year, I increase its go to the 80-20. So it's depend, but the main factor, I think the sales budget, how I allocate it. And the same time, I increase the sales staff. When there is a need from some specific customer, sales force, and I see there is available budget was increasing. So I increase the sales force from 11 to 14, gradually with the pace of time, whenever I need. The marketing budget and the product development, I think these are the tuning area, refining. If there are some issues from the customers or their complaint or something, then you make some changes, like the marketing communication budget, social marketing, and also the direct communication. These are the little bit. It's not too much, but just gradually I make some additions. And the same thing for the product development, because we are somehow in the leader in the third quarters. But when there is a need from the customer, they complain, they blaming, they complaining, no response. So then you actually make some research development, product development, live battery accordingly. So this is my strategy was. But the main point, I think the sales budget, how I allocate my sales budget, which has played significant role to achieve this.
What did you do with the
So you
product?
mean the sales budget means the sales mix, you mean the
Yes,
the
yes,
sales
I
mix
mean,
between
there is a 3-part in the sales budget. There is a 3-part in the marketing. This first one is the sales budget. It's mean how much your sales force, how much you are allocating on the small customer and the large customer. And the third portion of it is how much you are spending on retaining existing customer and acquiring new customer. I think this is the main area,
So-
critical.
Okay,
How
what
you
about the mix
properly
between
allocating this amount.
what about the mix between the four large products?
This is actually
What,
their
you had
plan
some
is
strategy?
no. This is actually you find for each quarter, you find some issues from each customer segments. They are complaining about the sales or they are complaining about the quality of the
So,
product. or
was
something.
your strategy to change the mix or to keep the constant mix for the 4 quarters?
No, it's not the constant, because whenever you are decided something, when you see the news, it's mean the customer feedback. What they are satisfied, dissatisfied, or something, their complaint from the news is actually what they are thinking, what they are talking about. Because, for example, like a customer B, he all the time he was complaining, even till the end of the simulation, he's not satisfied with you.
Now, see,
was,
here
so-
there is one solution to that. I'll tell you. But what is your strategy on the discounts?
A discount, because I just increase when the customer D, because from the start I note, because it's the small segments, but he is actually is the nominal effect 16% to 17. So it's when I gave the initially first time, so he it's keep him very satisfied until the end. I didn't make any change. Even from the sales force, I removed from the 25% to just 3% or 4. Because his main focus, if you go to the tutorial, it says the customer D is mainly concerned is the price. So I give
See,
him the additional
problem with
discount.
D is that if you keep on increasing the discount, his sales is not increasing correspondingly.
Yes, but
Sorry.
if you go to the data, is actually he is just a very nominal. If you, for example,
Now, D is number 3 in the the sales of. Anyway, that's the thing which I. But this B and C were really some sort of a it
No,
was very
go to the customer
difficult to
B.
understand
customer-
what are they want
Sorry.
But anyway, if you have gone a little more on their basically the discounts on the B and C. In fact, I experienced that if more discounts are given on B and C, the whole thing will change. That's what I learned.
Uh, Actually, if you go to the tutorial, it didn't mention D because these are the only the D is the price sensitive. A, B, and C
Yeah.
are the live battery, sensor, and the customer service or technical knowledge. First, A, B, and C are more focused on the battery life, size, and the quality and the training. But the D is the most price sensitive. So I give him the discount from 16, then 17 and 18.
May I ask everyone to mute if you are not speaking? Because there are some background noises coming. Naeem,
Yeah, okay,
I
okay.
have-
I got it. Really, thanks for sharing all your knowledge, the strategy points.
Okay.
Totally fantastic.
Naeem, I have
Yes.
opened up the page about your pricing strategy.
Mhm.
It looks all very straight for the fourth segment. What was your pricing strategy?
Actually, from the previous one, simulation play, I changed the prices. I increased the price 1%. But in the tutorial note, I learned that they said the customer don't like because they are very conservative. They don't change or don't like. They will move away from you. So, and that previous my gameplay, they're declining my revenue. So they said they are very consistent about the something like the price. So I didn't make any change except customer D because he was the price sensitive. I increased my or the given discount from 16 to first 2 years the 17% and then at the last quarter to 18%. Otherwise, I nothing make any change because this is the very significant because there are some other player also in the competition or competitor you see they have the very lower price to you.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's
So
why I
just one
didn't make
question
any
I
change.
have. Just one question I have. Which are
Yes.
the 3 or 4 most important parameters or the criteria which you have considered in you developing your strategy?
Actually, this
It
is
is
what
the-
actually I'm sorry.
Is the
First,
price or the customer or the sales mix or the discount? What is it sounds like?
I think this is all the combination of all those factors. Initially, you what I is actually understand. First, you need to set the right direction of your strategy, which I said
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
sales budget. First, you set the sales budget 30-70. This was the right, and then you actually make the tunings in the marketing
30
budget
means
and the
30 in
product
favor of?
development. Sorry.
30 is in favor of the large, right?
Yes, no. 30 was the small because we are
17
selling
large, okay.
30% or around 28% of our total unit sales to the small customer. So I keep 30%. And then it's go to and the 70% and to the large customer. So
Okay,
this was the
so-
basics.
Okay.
So we need to move forward. So for the sake of time, you can look at these different screens I have opened up for you. So you can look
Yes,
at,
sir.
I just opened the pricing tab. You can look at the customer purchases tab. This is all for names performance based on the 90 score. This is sales. This is financials, quite detailed. This is how they spend money on research. And then product performance. You can
Salim
see-
sir, can you go on sales?
Say it again.
Sales. Can you go on sales?
Yeah.
Sales tab. So it's interesting that the small customers declined and then it increased again, but large customers have increased constantly.
Because of a big chunk come or the margin, net profit margin coming from the large customer. You initially focus on the large customer.
So you've not decreased the prices significantly. You've kept your prices very stable across the board. So one of the
Yes.
main differences, which when I played, I constantly was decreasing prices month over month significantly. And that was then eating into the margins. So I think one of the key learning is price. You need to be very careful about when to change price.
Exactly. This was the point. Once I in the one of the gameplay, I increase the price, but the market not giving the positive signals, especially the customers. Because if you go to the tutorial, first A, B, C, these are not the price sensitive, except D and the small customer. So that's actually, it's a work here.
I think one thing which has come out from several places, pricing is something which customer is very sensitive. You
Yes.
think that I could add 1% increase or decrease, customer takes it much differently and much sensitively, which means that if you increase the price, they become dissatisfied. They may move away business from you to someone else. Or if you decrease the price, they may be happy temporarily, but it raises their expectation for the next time. Now they're looking for more price decreases. So pricing is something you don't want to play in the short term. You want to stick to your long-term pricing strategy, unless you have to make a small tweaks or small adjustments.
Salim sir, can
Yes.
I add a couple of things?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, majority of the factors are covered by Mr. Naeem already. I would like to add two more things that which I believe in my working help me securing a good result. It was the R&D link between the product performance. When we are spending R&D budget on the three components that are required by the customers, especially A to C, so we need to see the results of the performance of the product vis-a-vis to the competition. And if we are keeping that curve upwards for our company, that can help us distinguish and charge a price premium from the competition. Number one. Number two was the other factor was that in my third attempt, I managed to get this score. In first, I was at 86, and in the second one, I try to tweak with the pricing and try to make happy customer B and C, and failed miserably because they have some too much quality conscious things that are not manageable under the current production facilities available with the firm. However, what I did was to invest continuously over in the process manufacturing efficiency improvement. And secondly, I also invest some of the amount, very little amount, $10,000 or this in social media persuasion spending. However, I kept spending on the direct consumer communication, customer communication, because what I understood from the scenario is that this company is normally operating in a B2B segment. So in B2B segment, the parties are knowledgeable, willing parties, as per the economic term that we used to say that it's in a perfect competition environment, where you can't have too much in the packing or etc. things and keep customer happy to create customer value. In B2B, it's difficult to create customer value unless you deliver on the quality and the overall execution of the product and delivery.
Mohammed, just trying to understand, your strategy. I mean, just to have some knowledge on this. What was your priority? Was it your initial stage or maybe in the final stages? What were your priorities? Was it the discount or the product mix or the R&D or the sales?
Okay, first of all, what I see from the previous CEO, they were doing, they were averaging out the resources, sales force, etc. to all the customers, like 25% to each segment sales force is allocated. And they are doing 50-50 for the customer mix. So I studied the data of 9 months and then try to change it and give most preference to my A segment customers, and then the C and then B, and keep it consistent. However, after 4 quarters, I just tweaked a bit, a 2 or 3%, like 35% to A and 29% to B and 31% to C, and D customers were okay, because what I did in the initial, I just increased 1% on the discount, because in the scenario it was clearly mentioned that they are price sensitive and they are ordering in bulk for the mass testing, etc. So they are not that quality conscious. Price was their consideration, which was taken care of,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it was easy to manage them. That was my overall strategy. And the one thing that I learned from the earlier simulation we had while having batch 11 simulation with Mr. Salim, that in strategy we need to be consistent and have
Yeah,
confidence
absolutely.
of what we are doing. If we are hopping around and changing too much, these things didn't work in the even in
Yeah.
the practice or in the classroom or simulation setting.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely right.
So who else would like to share their experience from the top performers here?
Hello, good afternoon.
Who is this?
Yomi, Abayomi.
Yeah, Abayami. Go
Yes.
ahead.
So my experience with it when I started was that I looked at the C group of customers. Since they are not price sensitive and they like good quality, I paid attention to the quality. So I looked at efficiency and also continued to invest in research. It paid off, and I think the first 2 quarters went up. I also played with the small customers. However, I realized that the wholesalers, they are always demanding more, just like it was said, on their commissions. So there was this pass-through commission that I got confused about, because the margin kept increasing somehow. So I couldn't play it, but I saw that if I try to change, the price will go up. And there was a time it went up, there was a huge decline from the small customers. So I had to go back and maintain it. Where I had so what are the strategies? One, I saw that C, they are not price sensitive and they like good quality. So maintain the quality and continue to improve in research and then the sales force. However, along the line, by continuing to improve in the quality, there was a challenge. When I was reading the market news, it now came out that the batteries are becoming heavy and the customers reacted to it. Prices began to drop again. So I had to go back and reduce that and then work on the latency so that the quality can be something that is balanced. Where I seem to have not been able to manage it where was for the segment B. The performance wasn't so good. And at some point, I just left that back, that I will leave them the way they are. As the business was growing, I was increasing the sales force because I could see that A and B, they want to have, they would like to have sales force that is knowledgeable and can put them through. While for the C, there's a group that just prefers that, give them the flyers and everything, they can really work on it. At some point, I tried to play on the social media, but I saw that it wasn't really doing much, so I just left it. Tried to work on quality, but as I was working on quality, trying to bring in efficiency and looked at the latency so that the size of the battery is not so heavy for them to manage. So those are the areas I tried to do. But the B segment B was not a very good report for me. So that's my learning. So one, like it was said, once you begin to give discounts, I did it for the small customers. The wholesaler began to request for more. And the market was always telling me they are not asking for 10%, they are not asking for 12%. So I saw that playing price is something that is very risky in the market, except if you have really gotten your production efficiency very right and you can absorb all the costs. So those are some of the learnings I had.
So you were not happy with the small segment customers in the beginning, but did you continue to serve them?
Yes. So I had to be playing around gradually with the commission to the wholesalers and being mindful of the price because they are price conscious. I ensure that the price does not go up so that they will not. In fact, when it went up a bit, they reacted and the sales dropped.
Okay, so here is my question to all of you. A small customer segment doesn't look like attractive from the very beginning. But everybody tried to serve them. Did anybody decided as a part of their strategy to ignore a small segment, don't serve them and focus on the large customers? Did anyone do it consciously?
Yeah, I did it consciously. This is Pramod speaking.
Mhm.
And yes, so the strategy I had was a differentiated approach. So I did not really get into doing the, focusing on the small first.
So did it pay you off?
Yeah.
Did you see any benefit of it?
Yeah, I think it was trying to win the ones which were supporting. So the idea was when I looked at the customer satisfaction, I said, let me first win the customer A who is already, supporting rather than trying to chase everyone. It's impossible to please everybody at the same time.
Pramod,
So,
what is your score?
91, but I was in a different format, right? I used my file, so
you
it
are
doesn't.
playing
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah, I am using the university one.
Okay.
So that's why I had to do 11 times, but I learned it over time.
So let me come back to the segmentation part. So you consciously decided not to serve small customers.
That's right.
And you think it paid off, and ultimately you hit a score of 91, which is the highest among all the participants here, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because the reason is I tried to first win the first large ones before I did in the last 2 quarters go after the small ones by reducing the price. But I only played the price lever with the small ones, and only after
one of the very important lessons in marketing or choice in marketing is about the segmentation, that you cannot serve each and every segment in the market. You should not. And you need to basically, part of the segmentation strategy is to identify who is more suitable, who is more profitable, who could give you the maximum profit end of the day by serving to a certain extent. I'm surprised that not many people are, is there anyone else who consciously decided to ignore a small segment? You could have done that as part of your strategy. Nobody stopped you. And in this one case, it paid off very well.
I started ignoring segment B after 3 quarters of trying with them. And I don't know if somebody noticed, their comments were actually the same. And I noticed that even if they were saying, I'm taking away the business, the revenue and profits were increasing. Yeah. So I completely started ignoring them after 3 or 4 quarters, segment B.
So I think one lesson, let me just reiterate you, remind you, we have learned in strategy, general strategy, not about this simulation. Strategy is all about making choices. Strategy is all about trade-offs. You cannot reach to a perfect scenario. You cannot serve everyone. And there are trade-offs. If you do something, the other thing get affected. And part of your strategy formulation or execution is to make choices. So this was, I think, one big low-hanging fruit available to everyone, which I don't see that many have tried. Asif, you want to say something? Asif, go ahead.
Yes, Salim. I wanted to, most of the champions share very good stuff. A couple of things that I did differently and that I want to share.
Yeah.
And I would like to share my screen first. And I would make a just quick excuse that I'll keep my voice lower because it's 1 a.m. at night in Australia and the kids are sleeping. So if my voice is not well, just please let me know. So I'll just share my screen.
I'm not sure if you can do that. I need to really make a change in the setting. What do you want to show? I can open your screen here, your results here.
Okay, no, it's basically, I took my notes, a couple of things that I did before starting the simulation.
Okay, let me see.
I did.
Let me see if I could do that. What is your full name?
Asif Umar.
Is that you?
It's number 4 in the ranking.
Number 4.
Make co-host. Tell me if you see something on your screen.
Not yeah, you are co-host.
Yeah.
I can see that, but
Go ahead and share now.
sure. Okay, desktop 3. Sure. Can you see my screen?
No?
Salim, I guess you have to unshare your screen first. Maybe then he would be able to share his.
Okay, let me try that if that could work.
Okay, it's asking me for system preferences, so I'll just allow it. Just one thing, please.
While that is happening, if someone can, just elaborate, maybe ask for later on somebody, did anyone face this issue of climbing manufacturing costs, variable costs keep on going up? And how did you tackle that, or what was your thinking behind that? That is something that stumped me again and again. Just want to share that with the wider team.
Okay, anybody?
So same
Yeah.
variable cost, I noticed variable cost was going up month over month. My understanding for that, I mean, I don't have facts to prove it, but my understanding was it's because of the mix. So some customers' revenue was going up, which I was thinking they're more costly to serve. And that is why it's causing the variable cost. So for example, segment C required higher quality sensors. And if you're serving more of that, that requires a higher variable cost. That was one assumption which I made.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Asif, go ahead with your slides.
Sure.
Just one point we should have, sorry. One point which
All right.
would have helped us a lot if we would have got a product-wise profitability statement, right? Like the A, B, C, D, and the small one. What is the profitability? So
I
if we
think
have this product-wise
you
profitability,
can go into financials and see the gross margin per segment.
that they are giving the gross margin. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that is what the profitability is.
okay.
And this is not by
Okay.
product, by segment, because there is only just one product.
Yeah, yeah.
Asif, go
If I
ahead.
can. Yeah, sure. So for me, what I'm doing, what
Your voice is cutting off.
we are.
Am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
All right, so I'll just quickly go. What I did differently from the other champions is that I quickly analyzed the information. So first thing for me was to set my priorities. And how did I set my priorities? Is I tried to understand the key factors that could lead me towards success, which means that I posed a couple of questions before starting the simulation, that like who was my valued customer, who value battery life much more, who are concerned about size and weight, who are price sensitive, and who require more customer support, who are interested in technical knowledge, who are interested in easy installation. and the previous market data. Then what I did, I grouped 5 types of customers, A, B, C, D, and the small customers into 3 categories based upon these parameters. And this is my another one. So this is just a quick exercise that I did just before starting the simulation thing. I took from the Q3, the first year, the units sold to each types of customers. What I realized that there are certain customers who are giving me much more business. So I was really, really into the thought that the customers who are giving me much more business, those should be my priorities. So I divided those 5 types of customers into 3 categories, and it was customer A and customer C, which gave me a business of 42%. Then there was price sensitive customers who were D and S, that became a second priority based upon the business proportion they offered me. Then my least priority were the B customers, who just gave me 23%. So this was my initial strategy. And then a couple of things that, so this became my strategy. So this was the initial exercise that I did just before getting into the simulation itself. Secondly, I give a fair bit to each customers. So I thought that, okay, what can I offer to each customer? Because customer A and C grouping into one would mean that I need to offer them battery life, customer support, which means customer support means direct communication and easy to fix as well. So that was basically in the product development thing. And yep, so this is, I try to give them, I will show you later on another slide in which I set my focus, that which class of customer should be focused in how much proportion. This was my second thought. And thirdly, I made small consistent moves over the quarters that really added to my customer base and ultimately market share, revenue and profitability. I realized very early in the first few quarters that my strategy is working, and the rest became just sailing the ship. Then I understood the need of direct communication with the customers and invested more invested more in direct communication as compared to social media. I only hired new staff, sales force, one at a time. Like I did not rush into once there was a budget increase. I did not say that, okay, let me hire 2% at a time. So I understood that, okay, the business is growing. I'm making much more sales, but I hired 1% at a time. And only when I got the increase in budget, only in the final year, I have plenty of. Then I took feedback after each quarter about the customers, like who are satisfied, who are dissatisfied. As you can see from my priority, that customer B, I think 2 or 3 customers that were my least. I was not very much up there because I was ultimately doing whatever.
Abhijit, you need to mute yourself. Let's enjoy listening to Abhijit.
Yeah.
Okay, Asif, go ahead.
Sure. And there are certain things that I realized that I should not be doing it. Like, for example, I did not deliberately change the price because of the few reasons. And what was going on in my mind that I was already charging premium prices compared to my competitors. So I didn't feel the need at very start that I need to increase my price. And I did not want my customers to perceive me negatively in comparison to previous CEO and competitors. That led me to think that, no, this is not the right time to change the price. So I wanted my competitor to make the first move. And once customers are settled to realize that there is price increase, there is general price increase in the market, only then I planned my move to increase the price. And what happened that at the end of each quarter, when I studied the data, the competitor had not made any move related to the price. So I thought, no, I should not go to increase my price. And another thing, I wasn't much upset when I got negative feedback from customer B. It was of least concern according to my priorities that I showed that I grouped them into 3 categories. As I was already doing my best to fulfill their needs and did not want compromise on my best value customers, which I listed down as my priorities, but I did not ignore them completely. I increased my focus a little bit and consistently invested in size and weight of the sensors. So this was the like I showed you in the planning phase. So that was really very much critical to me, because once I got into the role of CEO, I thought that the very first move will set my direction, and that's exactly what happened. And once after my first quarter, I got a positive result and a couple of negative feedback from the customer side. Then gradually I adjusted my strategy. And just to show you one more thing. So I just took the screenshot for my very first quarter. So like the previous CEO, he put his focus in equal proportions to each type of customers, like 25%. I thought, no, segment A and segment C are my best customers, and I really don't want to lose them, and I want to keep them in the long term. So I put my focus, and because they were giving me the best business in terms of the quantities they were buying, so I increased my focus on segment A and segment C. And then, although segment B was my least priority, but still in comparison to segment D, they were giving me more business. Although segment D and segment S, which is small customers, I categorize them as one. So on the third place, I put segment B, and then finally segment E. But over the course of quarters, I changed my focus according to customers' feedback, that who are satisfied, who are dissatisfied. And I noticed that one of the class of customers that were customer D, who were initially dissatisfied, and then gradually they became to the level of satisfaction, and then finally they were very satisfied customers. And this is, as I said, that I did not change price. I just give the discount to D and small customers.
Asif, what was your final score?
83.
83, good. So
Yep.
Can I suggest something? If you don't mind, can you send the copy of your analysis to all of us? I think this would be very helpful going forward.
Yeah,
and
sure.
If anybody has any further question, I suggest to directly deal with you, so you
Yep.
could explain them in detail. I want to move to other participants just to give them a chance to share their experience as well.
Right. Just one final thing, Salim.
Yeah.
I changed this one to 30%, and 30% and 70%, because the small customers, they were only giving me around 30% business. So instead of giving them 50% of my budget, I said no, 30%. So yeah, this is my final thought.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I mean, this is what we do in real world. If you have to really deal with this type of business situation, we do a lot of analysis, and you did
That's
the right
right.
thing. So that's
right.
a great work.
And I made a trade-off between, the sales budget and the marketing budget.
Yeah.
So I keep them very much aligned with each other.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do. Okay, Rashid Mukhtar, do you want to share something?
Yeah, I will just add a few points. Most of the points all colleagues or friends mentioned already. One behavior I noticed was with the competitor. He was spending more on the sensor side, which is more costly to achieve, and on the battery side, he was not spending. So, so if we follow this approach and spend more on the battery, which costs less, this can give you much more market share for the customer A, and can increase your revenue and also the margin. You can go up to the 40%. What I noticed, one of the champion, his screen. So I went in my first try, I went to 26, but you can go to up to 40% of the market share of customer A, where you can be counted, let's say, one of the, not monopolist, but very close to the monopolist. Customer C, they also like the same parameters, meaning the high battery, but they like size also. So, but if you are winning with the customer A, customer C come along with it. And small customers, you can't do much because in this strategy, the distributor is out of your control. I mean, there's no thing that you can do to reduce his margin. So what you can do is just focus on A to D, and at some point when the distributor thinks he's losing his market share, then he's coming back to the 5%. So that's what I did. I mean, I killed my sales force. Small customer, I started from 20% and just allocated them 20% at the start. And then I went to by doing this, I achieved 78. But I think by not spending much on the site and by spending more on the battery, you can save the cost and you can win the customer A, which is enough to get the highest score.
Okay, thank you, Rashid.
Thanks.
Usman Mansoor, you want to share something? Usman Mansoor.
Gee, I was just saying, I was just looking at all the top scorers. I was just interested to see how much did people decrease prices. So increasing prices was out of the question, right? So that is clear because everyone is price sensitive. But taking that they're price sensitive, I took that to mean to reduce prices significantly. I was reducing 5, 10, 15% a month or quarter over quarter. But the impact of that was eroding completely margins I was earning, but it wasn't increasing the volume. So, you know, when you read the economics theory, when you reduce prices, it should increase volumes to offset the margins, but that wasn't happening. And I can see from results, changing prices wasn't the right strategy. And that was leading into reduction in budget, which then I couldn't spend in marketing or R&D, and therefore losing profit and customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
So I think that was one key.
Good question. Anybody else tried to reduce the price?
I did it
Significantly, like a lot.
No, not
I
significant.
tried it in second attempt, but failed, and it wasn't working because the customer is aware that this price thing, because once you decrease the price, you are unable to get an allocated budget for the expenses. So you reduce your expense spend side, and this ultimately deteriorate your quality, and this goes on like this. So you are start losing the customers.
Yeah, Usman, this is Yasser here, Salim. Usman, I think the strategy, this simulation is very clear on 2 points. One, segment A, B, and C, they are not price sensitive at all. They are more focused on the quality and the customer satisfaction, sales force, technical knowledge, and know-how. Only D and small customers are. So if you are applying that strategy across the board, definitely you will lose not only the profitability, market share, but everything else. So yeah, that was it.
I mean, I did one run just to prove this that because this company is a high-end company and more value-added company. So if you try to reduce the prices, customers see it negatively. So he thinks you are declining your quality, not only the price. So
well, the other thing is with the price changes, that what is the demand elasticity? Usually we expect that price go down, volume goes up, right? In this case, why the volume would go up? Because they are not going to order more than their requirement. These are the industrial customers. So consumption is pretty much determined, and whether you increase the price or decrease the price, it's not going to change much unless there are specific reasons for it.
Yeah, I just want to add one point here, Slim. You made a good point here. I think in some industries, like in this one, it's a kind of like a technology intensive industry where constantly you need to put money into research and development, customer satisfaction. So if you are decreasing price, and the customer might be thinking, yeah, now you are deteriorating the quality of the product itself.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. And
I mean, from a general point of view, decreasing the prices are never a good idea unless you have very specific reasons for it. Maybe competition is reducing the price, then probably there is no other option but for you to reduce or follow the suit. But otherwise, unless there is demand elasticity, a price reduction would not work. Okay, any more interesting point from anyone?
Hi, Salim, Mustafa here.
Yes, Mustafa.
So I just wanted to make a point on the pricing, that pricing is the most sensitive area, right? And we literally don't know much about pricing. And we always think that reducing pricing is the best strategy. Where I read a Harvard article, it said that price is a component of quality, right? So in even the industry which I worked previously, Siemens and ABB, price is very stable factor. So likewise, in this industry case, simulation, price is very important to be stable, except for the price sensitive customers, segment D and small customer. The other point which I would like to highlight is the total budget size, right? So in case at times we have started with the $800,000, but when the budget you have higher budget, when your revenue increased, then you still have the liberty to spend the entire budget, or even in some case you can just leave the portion of the budget unspent. And in that case, that actually help in the profitability. So I actually experienced this. So I wanted to share with all of you.
Okay.
In one of the try, I aimed to get a 5-star from everyone. That if, let's say, if I don't focus on the profit and I try to be winner with everyone, I managed to do that in that one. I get 5-star from everyone. The key was there to be qualitative in all my years. The battery and the sensors just better than the company. I just left it to 141, was $1 lower, but the quality I tried to manage it a little bit better than the competitor. By doing this, at the end of the last quarter, everyone gave me 5-star.
Okay, anyone else has anything to say?
One last question from my side. Anybody felt like there is any duds? No matter what you do, it doesn't have any impact from a decision perspective on the impact on the customers. Personally, I felt the social was not giving me anything, no matter if I increase or decrease it, but just want to feel somebody else's thoughts also.
Yeah, the social media and the other one was that's just not paying off much. If you're investing, it's not paying off much.
Maybe from $5,000 to $10,000 per quarter is enough. If you are increasing, you are not getting any.
Even zero is enough. But what I realized, even zero is enough. Provided you focus yourself on the product mix, the discount, and a little bit of the product development, that will serve the entire thing. Yeah. Customer satisfaction, yeah, that is another thing. Yeah, that you need to have a lot of see what is pain points there.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a few slides which are basically part of this simulation, which pinpoint the lessons learned. And I think that would really help everyone to again just review those points which are critical during this the simulation play. So let me just open my file. Give me a second.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Mama, where are the others here? Only you and me from our group.
Who you are talking to, Abhijit?
No, Mohammed. Only Mohammed. Sorry. Okay, later.
You see my screen, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to open that file. Okay, here it is. You see my PowerPoint now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so this is, as you can see, this is from Harvard simulation part. This would highlight basically the areas which were critical during the play of the simulation. So this simulation was about markets or segmentation. How do you approach segments? That there are markets, part of the market, there are segments, or part of the segment is customers, or from the bottom up, if you look, there are customers. You could aggregate or group into certain segments, and then segments become certain markets. So there is a lot of flexibility. How do you define segment? They are based on the demographics, they are based on the geography, they are based on their customer behavior, price level, etc., etc. But this is a very basic concept of marketing. These were the areas we were involved in this simulation. So starting from the top, segmentation and customer behavior, of course, we segmented the customer, or the simulation segmented the customer based on their behavior about the prices. Comparative behavior, I think we have not much encountered the competition behavior or reactions, but in the advanced version, you will see the competition is also actively involved into it. Then market conditions, then use of market research. It was optional for you whether to spend the money on the market research or not, but of course there were some benefits. Investment decision were a critical part. Investment decision always require for you to have a perspective about the long-term benefits and short-term benefits. And in the short term, it may fire back. In the long term, it may pay off. Pricing decision was very important lever in your hands. I understand that most people did not use it, which was the right approach, because in the short term, if you play too much with the prices, it creates a wrong impression to the customer, as well as doesn't help in the financial. Then there is some channel conflict, possibly, because when you deal with certain segments or certain channels for the same product, you have to ensure the consistency into the prices. So there may be situations where you have a segment or channel could afford a higher price, you set the prices higher. And then there is another channel, like in this case, a small business, you put the prices lower, but it doesn't go very straightforward because there is some leakage between the channel to channel. The channel who is receiving lower prices, they started to sell to the channel who is receiving higher prices. So it creates complication. That's called channel conflict. You want to avoid that in most of the situations, unless there is any specific reason for it. So understanding the market, I think we already understood it, that with the 5% growth per year, we can say this is a matured market. And mature market has certain characteristics, which means that there is a lot of competition and they're all matured and well settled in their own positions. So you see big examples like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, both are very, very powerful, giant global companies, but I think they are very much settled down in their own positions. So any matured industry, when you look, there is competition, but it's not a fierce competition where the companies are trying to define their positions, which usually happens in a new industry. So another example is automotive industry. Automotive industry, there are at least 100 global brands, but most of them are well settled in their position. I also call it a calm competition, that they know their position and that is how they are. Unless their rivals make a new move, they don't react usually. And of course, this was technology incentive products, which has its own characteristics. So insight about the competition, as I said, that this is a small player. These are not the market leader. This company, they are not the market leader. There are big players, but again, they don't react unless you take the first move. And if you do, they react very strongly and make an impact or make it difficult for you to really make benefit from your initial moves. How do you manage segments? So in this case, again, there were large customers account 70% of the sales and a small customer 30% of the sales. It was a very clear choice about making your preferences, making your trade-offs, that which segment you want to serve. So based on the trade-offs, you make a decision. In some cases, it may be advisable or beneficial to keep serving small customers, but you don't want to spend too much resources. I think one of the logic or rationale in favor of serving small customers, that probably with a distributor, you don't need sales force to spend too much time with the distributors. They are in the low price segment market. They don't need much service or special support. So you could afford that. And based on that, you could also offer some low margin products over there. So large customer sub-segments. Here
one point.
Yes.
With respect to disties, company is ceding a commission to them, and that is the nominal phenomena that disties do have the technical know-how to upsell the products, because they are getting some commission on top of what on their segment.
Yeah. The only thing I said that you need to ensure that there is no channel or market conflict, because if there is too much price differences, it started to flow from channel to channel without your involvement. You don't want that. So in the large segments, we also see that there is further segmentation where you could see that there is price sensitivity and there is no price sensitivity. So basically pricing decision really depends upon the sensitivity of the customers. So one thing which I think I did not notice yet, that in terms of strategy, you have a choice actually at the broad level. First choice, of course, it's not a choice, but you could do nothing, maintaining a status quo. But choice is really, how do you position your products? You could position as a high-end positioning, or you could position as a low-end positioning. With a high-end positioning, of course, you have to charge higher prices, but also ensure that your product performance is also to that level. You need to align, you need to match the product performance with a higher price level if you want to choose that position. Other option is, contrary to that, that you go to the low end of the market and you say, okay, I have a reasonably functional, acceptable product, but at a much lower price, which is very attractive to certain segments. Again, not the same customer would make a choice to go from low to high or high to low, but then there are segments of the customers who would prefer high-end product, and there are segments of the customers who would prefer low-end products. And this is very clear and visible in the automotive industry. There are high-end manufacturers, there are low-end manufacturers, and they are all well settled in their respective segments. So I did not see, unless you have to tell us that did you really go for this type of a strategy or direction consciously or not? Anybody?
It did not work out for us when we tried, because the competition was not really active in our simulation.
Okay.
Hello, Salim. So
Yeah.
I tried it for the segment C a bit. I actually increased their price, and I was trying to ensure that they have high quality battery life and all of that, while also ensuring production efficiency. And it paid off on segment C, because that's why the increase in price, they were not sensitive to the price. The only time it became a problem was when there was this mention of battery size. I wouldn't know if it's for them or another group, but that was the only time I now saw a bit of a challenge. And
you could have only done that where if you increase the price, you must ensure that you are providing the best performing products with the best battery life and the other two functionalities like latency and other one.
Yes, I did that.
So if you match that, if you align that, customer also accept those high prices.
Yes.
If there is a legitimate reason for the customer to believe that you have invested in the product performance, they will be willing to pay you.
So the segment C, we are really ready to pay. They did not there was no complaint from their side. I think it's the segment B, I didn't understand this. So I had to ignore it at a point, because I just saw that it's a market I couldn't place. It kept dropping. So I
Then-
just left them.
Then even if you want to invest into the product performance, you need to keep in mind that there is a time lag involved. It doesn't happen that you invest the same period and instead in the return or profit increases in the same period. So initially, investment will really have a pressure on your profit to go down. And then in some course of time, it would come back, started to come back and stabilize. In some cases, it may not happen at all. But you need to see for those large investments, whether you could afford it or not. So many companies, when they try to do large investment, they go for separate funding. They cannot fund those large investment from their own profitability, from their own cash flow. Otherwise, they would be too much constrained. So nature of the investment, long-term, short-term, and how essential it is and how much liquidity the company has are important considerations in this case.
Salim, another point over here is that when you are deciding to gear up the price for a customer, you have to understand what their customers are. If the customer is operating in a high margin market, then they don't mind price increase. But if the customer is a university or a large scale raw research institutes who are buying this product for different test and trial and error methods, so they might not be able to afford such a price.
Yeah, I would say that it's more dependent on their own perception of the price rather than really whether they have a big margin or not. Because some customers who have the big margin, they would still not be willing to be showing their flexibility to accept any higher price. So we'll come to that topic in the next few slides about the customer satisfaction and loyalty, and that probably would explain it better. So just hold on. So pricing strategy. You can increase the price, you can decrease the price, but be careful. For increase the price, customers are very, very sensitive. There has to be a good rationale or a reasoning to explain or justify the price increase. Reducing the prices is even more riskier. Why? Because if there is no reason for the reduction of the price, it changes the expectation of your customers. If you reduce the price, they expect that you would continue to provide that. You might have done it for a short period of time, and they would expect on a permanent basis. Or if you did it in 1 quarter, 1 year, they would expect that next year price would again go down. So usually it's not a good idea to go for price reduction unless you are forced by competition. The overall price level in the industry or market is going down. That could be the only reason. Otherwise, it's not a good idea. Use of market research, yes or no? In this case, in this simulation, it was given as a choice. It was a fixed amount like 50,000, and you could say that I need it or I don't need it. And then again, there were reasons. Market research would give you a better insight to understand your competition, better insight for the markets, and other information from the market area or industry area. So that was a decision you should have made on your own. Channel conflict. This is what we were talking about initially. So small customers are supported by distributors in this case, and sales reps call them. Sales reps are not supposed to call them, but they call them because they have the potential to grow in future. So they would become part of the large segment. And the large segment, the pricing is, if it is a little different and it is different for distributors, it may create a conflict in the market because the same customer may be getting significantly different prices from 2 different channels. That not only it created complications, it also hampers the credibility of the supplier or the manufacturer by for the customers to notice there are 2 prices available. So they feel like being cheated by charging higher prices. So that's the channel conflict is. Customer management process, of course, develop and manage a portfolio of customer relationship, like the customer management effort to economic. So idea here is that whatever favor or the service you want to provide to the customers, you need to ensure that there is a benefit coming back to the organization in terms of the bottom line profitability from those customers. Customer behavior. Now we are talking about the subjectivity. So it needs, so here is the idea. Here is a theory based on certain research. Customer behavior evolves slowly. it doesn't happen that you reduce the price one day and second day they become very loyal to you. Even if there is some real improvement in your service performance or your product performance, it takes customers a while to digest it, accept it, and then return it or reward it in their own behavior, like rebuying or additional buying. That's a universal fact. So be careful when you try to offer something to the customers. There may be a time lag involved. Customer changes expectation when vendor change performance. So if your performance changes, good or bad, their expectations change. Again, if you improve the performance a little bit, they are expecting that you will continue to do that improvement in the performance. You may not have meant it, but they expect it. So in 2009-2010 crisis, what happened that because this was a global crisis, many companies, to back up their lack of performance, they started to offer incentives and bonuses and the free trials or the price reductions, etc. They meant it for a temporary period to restore confidence. The customers on the other side expected it to continue forever. So it's not about managing prices, it's about managing customer expectations based on your past performance, competitors' performance about the product or services, and then based on the two things, managing the customer's expectation about your price level or service level. So this chart explained is better. If you start from the upper left side, you see is past performance and quality one factor, needs, values, and satisfaction with past performance. So actual past performance is one thing, but what is their satisfaction with that performance? These two things in combination create certain level of expectation for the customers. And along with that, the other factors, again, perceived performance quality. What is their perception? As I said, there may be real improvement in price or performance, but what is their perception? Perception matters. Like in the strategy modules, we learned that it is the perceived value by the customer which really matters, not the actual product value or the performance value, but the perceived value. That really meant, this is exactly what we mean here. And that perceived value and the expectation together, they go and create level of satisfaction for the customers. So in this case, with reference to the simulation, satisfaction with this company and then satisfaction with the competitors, because customers have a choice to move to a or move to competitors. So they are basically looking at both suppliers, and based on the combination of the offering, they are determining their loyalty factor. They could be loyal to they could be loyal to competitors. And it also involves the other factors such as customer long-term orientation, vendor's past performance, value provided by vendor and as perceived by customers, and switching costs. The switching cost is a tangible factor which may overcome or supersede the loyalty or satisfaction level. So best example is the ERP provider, SAP, or large scale provider like Oracle. If you make a decision to buy licenses and implement the software or the hardware, there is very little margin to go back, whether you're happy or not. And this is what I've seen in my career, working for 3 companies with SAP system, that they were not happy, they were not satisfied, but they didn't have a choice to go back because switching cost after you start with them is very, very high. So despite a deep level of satisfaction, they didn't have the ability to exercise switching to other suppliers or providers. So this is a little bit more closely how satisfaction changes. And what you're seeing here in this graph, if you look from the left side, the horizontal line is starting with performance less than expectation. Let's say that customer on this side, performance less than expectation. And our idea or company's idea would be to bring them at least to the middle. In the middle center of this graph is the performance equal to expectation. So that's a basically neutral point where customer could be. And again, your objective is to take them further to the right side. And that would be performance more than expectation, right? So our objective is to see customers where they see performance better than their expectation. Or in other words, it is called delight the customer, not really meet their expectation, exceed their expectation. What is the interfering factors here? If you look at the vertical line coming from the bottom, losses loom larger than gain, which means that it's easier to annoy customer, it's easier to dissatisfy customer than really make them happy or delight or satisfied. You need to do a lot of work to make them happy. That's the nature of the customer behavior. So when you do little favor, like price reduction, small or marginal performance, it doesn't lead to any visible customer satisfaction. This is what the mistake many companies do. They do a little bit for the customer and then they are expecting a big reward. That doesn't happen. It takes time. Customer need to be brought to a level of high satisfaction. Then they turn to reward you with their change or improved behavior. So we can distinguish between the satisfaction level and the loyalty. Loyalty is what you want to see. Satisfaction is the point where they are indifferent. They are not complaining, but they are not also changing their behavior. When you are able to bring them to a level which we call loyalty, that is where the magic happens. That is where they are willing to pay higher price. That is where they are willing to buy more from you. Another thing which really happens with the performance is the cost reduction or your spending on the quality. So it's a trade-off again. You could reduce the cost and compromise on the quality, or you could spend on quality and improve the performance. And usually this would lead to the change in the customer behavior as well. So what's wrong with a focus on satisfaction, where the companies make mistake? So satisfaction is how well you did in the past. And objective is, for most of the manufacturer suppliers, that they want their customers to come back and buy more, right? That is the purpose of the satisfaction. If it is not, then why would they worry about satisfaction? And assumption is that a satisfied customer will come back. If I am able to make a customer happy or satisfied, that would reward me in due course of time, right? So they say that increase satisfaction and you increase profit. Does it really happen? No, very seldom. The relationship between satisfaction and coming back is strong and true only when the satisfaction level is very high. So firms, what companies try to do nowadays, and you can see these examples very often and very common, that somehow it's very auto dealers or the dealers who are selling automotives, they are notorious in it, that once you buy the car or the vehicle, they would force you to really give them a perfect rating. I have experienced it. I'm sure many of you have experienced it, that they said, okay, I'm giving you a discount of that much in the car price, but you promise that when you receive a questionnaire from the manufacturer, you would give me a 10 out of 10. Promise me. This is not satisfaction. This is they are trying to buy satisfaction. Two things, two different things. Building our satisfaction or buying our satisfaction. In most of the cases, other examples that I know you are not satisfied. What could I do to make you happy, make you satisfied? I'll give you a free prepaid card or a free voucher for something, right? Again, this is an example of buying satisfaction. This satisfaction, when you buy, doesn't yield anything. In fact, many times it creates the lack of credibility for you. So to build satisfaction, they have to work on it. It takes time. They need to bring real value for the customers. So these are the fundamentals of comparative strategy. That your objective is to provide superior performance to customer in the long run and superior profits for yourself. It's not the cost of your profit. The best strategy is where you make superior performance for customers and create superior bottom line for yourself. And then basically the way you do it, you want to create a competitive advantage through cost reduction or differentiation strategy. This is very basic strategy. I'm sure all of you have covered with me before. So again, competitive advantage is what? Outperforming the average industry participant, outperforming your competitors through, again, though not the both options at the same time. Either you go towards the cost leadership or you go to the product leadership. Or maybe you could decide to stay somewhere in the middle. That's also possible. Now, many companies don't go to the extreme, but they try to remain in the middle. These are the part of your strategy, but also your performance significantly be affected based on the industry dynamics. If you look at the left side of this graph, attractive industry structure. Now, industry, based on their life cycle, based on the current conditions, you may not have much impact or influence to change it as a player, unless if you are the market leader and you are very strong financially and with other resources, you might impact. But as an average player, you don't have much impact or influence on the industry. So industry is basically given. If industry is not in a good shape, you may not really have good performance for your company, and you may not be able to provide good performance to the customers. Airline industry is really saturated. They can't do much. There is so much competition. There is so much price competition that, and despite the high level of increase in the air traffic, they are still not able to make some good profit because this is the nature of the industry. So industry is also a very important factor to be considered to assess the performance. So back to customer loyalty. Loyalty is built by the firm, owned by the customers, eroded by time, the environment, and the competition. So you need to really work hard to create or build a loyalty and then try to manage and maintain the ownership with the customer. So customer need to really recognize it, appreciate it. But anything happen outside by the environment, industry, competition, or time, it may be ruined very quickly. Who is a loyal customer? Loyal customer is willing to repurchase, rebuy. Loyal customer is willing to recommend you to others. Loyal customer is willing to pay a premium price. Loyal customer is resistance to competitors' offering. They want to lure them. Loyal customer is willing to wait. If something goes wrong, they have the patience to wait for you to fix that. They are resistant to adverse expert opinion. They are going to complain to you and not to others. If they are not happy, they would only let you know. That basically explains or describe a loyal customers. Now, how many times you really have a customer like that, right? Very, very rare, very seldom. So how do you build customer satisfaction? How does it work in the overall system? So if you have a customer, satisfied customers, they are easier to manage. They would require less resources to be taken care, and there would be resistance to competition. That would lead to lower cost, which would result in profits. Or you may have new customers, and new customers may be willing to adopt to your service offerings or product performance. Or you may have competitors' customers. So you basically try to switch them, competitors' customer, by offering better service, by offering product performance, and they gradually they will become satisfied and loyal customer. It's a long, lengthy, complicated, painful process, not easy. But once you bring them to level of satisfaction or loyalty, it is even bigger job, bigger challenge, how to maintain them into that position. So another chart to show the, this is interesting. In this chart, look, usually when you see these type of graphs like loyalty and satisfaction rating, it's a sort of linear curve going straight. In reality, what happens, that, for example, you have a customer or you have a number of customers and you're working with them. You want to bring them to a satisfaction rating of 5, right? You bring them from 1 to 2, you from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4. Nothing is happening. And you are puzzled, you are lost. Why they are not responding? I'm working so hard with them. Look, there is a point where it would change, and that would be the 4+ rating. When you bring them to a level much higher than where they were, then suddenly they will convert into a loyal customers, and that is where you will be rewarded with repurchase or more purchase or all those things we saw in the behavior of a loyal customers. And many companies, even mature companies, miss that point. This is based on research. So framework for explaining customer profitability in industrial market. So industrial market has little different dynamics than the consumer market. So if you look from the left side, it is about the attribute level performance. It's about the service level or the product attributes. They are more focused. And then it leads to satisfaction with the supplier. And then it ultimately results in the customer response in terms of sales volumes and the share of purchases. And that leads or become the customer profitability. So in this chart, this is the point of loyalty. Here you have already brought the customer to a level of satisfaction, but to bring them to loyalty, you have to wait. You have to continue serving them. So patience is very, very important in this case to bring from customer satisfaction to customer loyalty. So how well do satisfaction measures predict defection? Is it not a linear relationship? So if the issue is central, really burning issue, defection is abrupt. One big issue, one big blunder, one big failure, customer is gone immediately. But if the customer's vendor solution fits customer needs, even if it is poor, they are willing to stay. Defection is gradual, so it will take time. So you have enough time or the buffer period to fix the issue. Similarly, defection is gradual if alternatives are poor. So they are not happy with you, but they know that if they go to the supplier, alternative supplier, their solution is also not good. In that case, you get some margin or some time. This is again explains the quality of relationship. So brittle relationship, soft relationship, it depends upon the set, but it's not linear curve. It depending upon one event or one failure, which may suddenly disrupt the whole flow. This is interesting. This is called loyalty ladder. Loyalty ladder. And this very well explains that what is the task for you to create or build customer loyalty. It goes step by step. You need to take the customers and take them up step by step. So look at some of the description of the steps. At the bottom, won't switch immediately to superior product from competition. The competition may offer a very compelling high performance product, but they are not going to switch. And they will still say positive things about you. And as they move upward step by step, their behavior is changing. So watch that. Will say positive things about you. One step higher, likely to rebuy. One step higher, will wait if product is in short supply. They still want to buy you. Don't have enough supplies, orders available. They will wait for you. One step higher, they will pay more for you. One step higher, will not be affected by adverse comments from experts or other people. One step higher, very likely to rebuy. One step higher, enthusiastic advocate. Now they become your salesman. They're making recommendation to other people. That's the loyalty ladder. And that is how it works in reality. So where is the critical point? So look at this ladder. Where is the critical point? Right in the middle. Right in the middle. Where they will say, what is the cost of moving the customer from one rug to another? What is the revenue impact? So you need to make investments into the customers to bring them to the middle of the ladder. and then see that what else you need to do to bring them one step further. And if you are able to do that, that is where the magic happens. That is where the reward comes. Not many companies could really sustain that pressure. So that's pretty much, yeah, there is also one very interesting chart about the causal relationship. They call causal loop diagram. So everything you have done has resulted into a positive impact or negative impact, right? And so if you look around the diagram, these are the things or areas you have gone through. And if there is a blue line, it creates a positive result. If there is a red line, it creates a negative result. I'll give you this diagram after the second round is completed, so you can look back and see where did you made a mistake. So that's pretty much on this debriefing slides I've shown you. We have a few more minutes. Any questions or any further comments anybody would like to share?
Since Yasser here, just quickly, I'm just curious, did anyone actually tried increasing the price for this niche market segment of customer A and C, and see if there is any positive results?
Yes, I tried. It failed.
I tried for customer C, and there was I mean, they always complain, but I got more money out of it. So customer C, because they're less price sensitive, I went to 0% discount, and I think overall I made more money out of it.
I did for C as well, not 0%. I just reduced the discount a bit, and they still responded because the quality was maintained, and the sales force was maintained too.
Okay.
Salim, I have a question.
Yes,
in
go
this
ahead.
case study, how we can impact the distributor?
Well, it's
sorry, Salim, please, just to answer it together. So what is also the pass-through effect to the distributor? What does that mean? So that I can answer them together. The pass-through effect of the discount to the distributor, what does it mean?
Well, my answer is relative. What you want to do to the distributor, you have to see in the context of all the segments available, all customers. If it is only distributor, then you could worry to really change their behavior. But when you are dealing with 5 segments and distributor is one of them, what you want to do with the distributor, it depends what you want to do or do not want to do with other segments. It's relative, it's comparative. So you would only do something when it would make sense, which would create our real bottom line for you.
Salim, from my experience, because I had almost 1 year experience in working in an FMCG, mineral water company, distributors are normally the backbone in the distribution channel, especially when there are small tickets or small customers. So in this industry, they are very important unless we can eliminate that middleman through technology and hook up the customer directly through our marketplace or etc. Then we can think about alternate things that we can live without distributor. Unless that, we have to keep them running at a bare minimum margin, and because they are the one who can upscale and upsell your product on the niche area where you can't focus with your heavy cost structure or heavy corporate lifting.
Yeah, I agree. It all depends upon the industry dynamics. But generally speaking, you are right.
Yeah, Mr. Salim, I want to add what Ahmed have said. Basically, this is 30% in this customer segment is giving 30% sale out of the total. And if you take other 4 segments, individually they're contributing only 17.5. So this is a very significant or important customer segment as well. And the distributor margin, every quarter you will see the news. Sometimes they're increasing and sometimes they're decreasing. So based on when they decrease their margin expectation, we can definitely increase the price without compromising on the pass through. So that really increasing the profitability.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts?
What's next?
See, what is the list price, what are the impact of changing the list price?
Market took it very negative. I did it.
Okay, so I think we did have a useful discussion today, which gives you further enrichment about understanding this simulation and preparing you for the second round. So let me show you what are we moving into now. So okay, let me go back to the simulation again. Okay. So this is my simulation setup. So this is my screen as a facilitator, right? So we have completed the first round. So I'm going to reset in front of you. So it says set up new run. So I'm going to new run. Now it's asking me some question to configure it. So you can see under point 2, show leaderboard. Yes, show leaderboard. Display score to speakers. Yet. Yes. Maximum play allowed, I'll keep it 5. So I think 5 is good enough for anyone to really sharpen their understanding and okay, 5, maximum plays allowed 5. The weighted average, so this is interesting. So I think there was a question that what should be your focus during this type of execution? Based on the company life cycle, based on their relative positioning in the market, some companies may decide to prioritize market share more than anything else. Some companies may prioritize revenue more than profit. Or some companies may prioritize customer satisfaction. So in this case, you can see there were 2 factors which were really driving the performance: customer satisfaction and cumulative profit. Now we can change it. We can change it, but I'm trying to keep it so that you have a similar focus on the relative importance of these factors. But in the simulation, we can play with it as well. I'm keeping it the same. And next is, will user be fired or for losses? How did you feel when you were fired for performance? You want to keep it, right? You enjoyed it.
Yeah, keep it, sir.
Okay, set competitor response, slightly aggressive. So we kept it like none in the previous. Now I'm making it strongly aggressive. You are really prepared for it, right? Everyone. Externalities, there are some external event which will impact it. Let's see. So market disruption only, PR crisis. There are 2 types of events which will happen. One is market disruption, another is PR crisis. So I'm keeping both and I'm making it closer together so you have a bigger challenge to deal with them, right? This is the most challenging scenario. And I'll name it, that was the onboarding. Now it's called challenging scenario. Challenging scenario. And if I individual users, simulation is closed. I'm going to open it now. You can start playing as soon as possible. So I'm not sure it will keep all the data or not. Hopefully it will keep all the previous data as well. but right now you can check. It should show as open to you with the second round. Yeah. Okay, folks. Anything else? I have not seen in the chat box for a while, but if there is anything urgent or you want to contribute, feel free to speak up. As I said earlier, the next live session we will do on 28th of May. You have, again, 2 weeks available to play it around. And that would really make you a marketing expert.
Thank you, sir.
You see it open for the second round? Anybody? It should. If not, then just let me know on the chat board. So folks, thank you very much for your very enthusiastic participation in this play. And I'm very hopeful that by the end of this exercise, we'll definitely have developed a very strong marketing acumen, at least for all of us. So thank you very much. And I'll see you next.
Thank you, sir.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.